You've probably noticed the mass amount of change that's happening around us. It's no secret that we're experiencing a faster rate of change than ever before in time. It might leave you wondering, what does this mean for your career, especially when we look around and we see some of the top companies laying off people left and right? Well, you're in the right place because today we're going to talk about how to future-proof your career. I don't know if you've heard, but experts in AI have predicted that anywhere between 16 to 40% of humans will be automated out of their jobs over the next 15 years. Again, 16 to 40%. By the time we're done today, you're going to learn what you can start doing right now to secure your place in the future. By the end of this video, you're going to determine how likely you are to be automated out of your job. You'll be able to identify and communicate your unique competitive advantage, and you'll walk away with the #1 tool that'll help you create your career parachute. Let's take a moment to think about professions that once existed but no longer exist any longer. When was the last time you saw a milkman? Or a bowling pin setter, or a switchboard operator? What about lamplighters, or even encyclopedia salesmen? Remember how they used to knock on your door and have a couple sample encyclopedias and guilt you into thinking if you didn't buy them, your children were going to grow up and be amazingly ignorant? They don't exist anymore either because we have Wikipedia. Don't worry, I know there might be some teachers watching. You might have twitched when I said that, but you get the point. We have access to all the information we need at our fingertips, rendering that career somewhat irrelevant. Now, it might be uncomfortable to think about the fact that you too could be automated out of a career. You know, once upon a time when people started talking about automation and robots, the thing we always heard was, ooh, these blue-collar workers, they're going to need to upskill. They're going to lose all these jobs. All these blue-collar workers are really going to have a tough time. But what we're actually seeing is due to things like AI and machine learning, everyone has the potential to be automated out of a job, white collar or blue collar. And so the fact of the matter is, if we want to be relevant going forward and future-proof our careers, we have to be strategic. And I'm going to be honest with you, the title of this video isn't exactly a fib, but I have to give you a little addendum to that. Technically, no career is future-proof, but we want to future-proof a career for you because sometimes the career that you had can morph into something else. So for instance, they're also no longer buggy makers for the most part. There might be a few buggy makers for horse and buggies, but I think we'll all agree that probably 99% of them disappeared with the invent of the car. But here's what's interesting. Think about a buggy salesman. A buggy salesman could very easily convert over to a car salesman. So he's future-proofing his career by being open to that transition. That's what we're doing for you right now. One of my favorite examples of AI interrupting white-collar work is a company called LawGeeks. LawGeeks is an organization that creates technology that can do the work that attorneys can do. A couple of years ago, LawGeeks decided to test their AI against actual attorneys. And so they did this test where they had attorneys and their AI spot check 5 different NDAs. What they found was really interesting. On average, their AI model was able to predict more of the issues or to identify more of the issues with the NDAs than the actual attorneys. The AI from LawGeeks was 9% more accurate than the actual attorneys, or the average of the attorneys. Now that's interesting. The more interesting part is it took those attorneys over 90 minutes to spot check those 5 NDAs. In that same amount of time, it took the LawGeeks AI just over 20 seconds. So again, to recap, it took the LawGeeks AI just over 20 seconds to be over 9% more accurate than those attorneys. I think we can see now why it's important for all of us to learn how to future-proof our careers. Don't go away just yet because I'm going to give you your juicy tips I promised at the beginning of the video. But if you want to learn a little bit more about why automation is happening at such a fast pace and a fast change, check out my other video, Why Being Innovative is So Important for Business. So your first task, and please know this is going to make you a little bit uncomfortable, start listing all of the different tasks that you do in your career. What are your job duties? And I don't mean on the job description itself, but start thinking every day, what do you do? Do you check emails? Do you return phone calls? Do you click here and do this? Start listing out all the different things that you do. Now start thinking, how many of those things can actually be done by a computer? How many of those things can be done by a robot? How many of those things can be done by AI? Now, I know it makes you uncomfortable to think of it, but if we're willing to sit with this discomfort, we can actually get some really great insights that'll help us later. So start charting out how many of those things, and look at the percentage. What percentage of your work can be automated? Here's a tip for you. You may think something can't be automated, but if it's about calculating or just checking off something or daily task, it probably can. The only things that can't be automated in our jobs typically are things that aren't predictable. So maybe you have to deal with different human issues where you're interacting with them. Or maybe you have to get up and physically move to a different environment and you have to adapt to different situations. The good news is right now, AI cannot adapt to these different situations. They're really good at repetitive tasks. So if you have tasks that are not repetitive, those are probably some of your strengths right now. But let's do a little something else. There's a little website and it's either going to tickle you or really upset you. I don't know. But it's called Can Robots Take My Job? Go ahead and check out that website. Plug in your career or your job role and see the percentage likelihood that they say, according to their mathematical equation, that you're likely to lose your job. Go ahead, plug in your actual job and see how likely they say your job is to be automated by robots. Keep in mind they are using a little math in there, and the website itself explains how they calculate the actual percentage. And just for extra giggles, see if there's any comments on that section. So for any given job, let's say you type in lawyer, you'll see the percentage likelihood the site rates it as being automated, but you can click and see all the comments that people made about that particular job. Watch and see what percentage of those comments are people who have that job that are trying to defend their position that no, they can't actually be outsourced. It's pretty interesting. The next two things I want you to focus on is focus on those human traits that you bring to the table. Those are the things that robots cannot emulate. So do you have a job that requires a great deal of empathy? Do you have a job where you have to be good at helping people get through emotional situations? In addition to the human component, think about the value that you add that a robot likely cannot, or that AI likely cannot. So if you saved the business X amount of dollars, or if you built a relationship with another organization or individual that brought in X amount of dollars, these are all things that add to your value that can showcase to your boss and others within the organization what your value is. When you know what your human value is and that number or monetary value that you bring to the table, make sure that you're telling the rest of your leadership what you bring to the table. Now, you might be a little uncomfortable at self-promotion, but I think something we figured out over the years is that the people that announce their accomplishments on some level are usually the ones that are recognized. And I'm sure you've seen that. I'm sure you've worked with people that are extremely self-promotional, even when they're not very good at their jobs. And somehow, oftentimes, those people are actually pushed up through the ranks faster than people that are more qualified. So if you're not comfortable, I totally identify with you and my heart connects with you, but we still got to push through because remember, we're trying to future-proof our careers here. So the only way for people to know what we bring to the table is to ensure that we let them know. So even for your annual review, make sure you're mentioning these things. The very last thing I want you to do is examine your network. How fresh is it? Do you have a extensive network within your industry? Are there people that you can call as mentors or mentees who can likely get you through the door at different organizations? If so, make sure that you're keeping those relationships warm and finding ways to add value to them before you need their assistance. If not, if you do not have that type of network, guess what? It's time for you to start attending conferences. It's time for you to start attending networking events. Now, right now, I could feel the introverts. I could feel you screaming through the lens, and I get it. Believe it or not, I'm actually an extreme introvert. But sometimes you have to just turn it off and do what you have to do. And this is one of those times because future-proofing is not easy. If it was easy, everyone would be able to do it. So start to build that network. Start to find ways to connect with people. Make sure that you're staying in contact with them. So don't just meet them and get their card, but make a little note to follow up with them every quarter just to check in, see how they're doing. Is there something I can do for you? Are there any favors that you can do for people so that in the event you need help on the back end, it's not about tit for tat, but just knowing that they understand that you're there for them and hoping that they can be there for you so that if you need to move companies or even industries, you already have the relationships to facilitate that. As you're building your network, that also means that you need to update places like LinkedIn so that when we talked about the human things that you bring to your job, the things that you can measure numerically, the value that you add, make sure that's listed also in your LinkedIn profile. We want to make sure that your value is evident and that your network is warm. Since we're talking about future-proofing your career, I have a tool that will help you take this information even further. It is called the Future Ready Playbook, and it is chock full of worksheets and activities that will help you thinking more strategically about the future of your career, of your business, and even your personal life. So go ahead, look in the description, click the link so you can download it right now.